So we're now recording, so if your camera's on, we will see you on the recording. So thanks everyone for joining. It's really lovely to see so many people here. Hopefully we'll have a really interesting conversation. So I'm Jenny and I'm on the admin team for the Laser Channel and Packing Society, and I'm also joined by Sarah and Sophia from the Security Queens. And we're just going to have a fairly laid back, informal discussion around the topic of sort of data protection and the things that have been mentioned at the main Cynam event so far. And we're sort of trying to recreate the feel of like at a pub or a cafe, sort of the where, you know, you can discuss ideas and opinions in a little bit more freely in a chill environment, not like the more formal like main track talk. So we're not here to talk at you, we're here to have you all engaged. So please join in. This is a discussion and a conversation, so we would love to hear from you. Either unmute yourself and ask a question to us, or so that everybody else is here, and hopefully we'll get those engagement, or there is a chat which I will find now. So stick a question in that and I will pick that up and ask it to the crowd. So Sarah, do you want to introduce yourself and we can pass over to Sophia?
Yeah, so hi everyone, I am Sarah. I'm literally quite new to the industry. I've only just started working in security, and I've just graduated uni from Bournemouth University studying forensic computing and security. But I've always loved joining in with these sort of events, cybersecurity events and B-sides and things like that, and I miss them. But it's quite nice to be able to be here and, you know, talk to you guys about this. But I'm here mainly to represent the Security Queens, and I'm sure that more information about me will be revealed further on in this talk. There's not much else to say yet.
Yeah, I've got pretty much the exact same story as Sarah. Very new to the industry, graduated from Bournemouth Uni, but I did a slightly different course. I did cybersecurity management, which focuses on sort of high level security, so like policies, business continuity, that kind of thing. But now working as a junior role in pen testing, which is quite fun. And again, we're representing Security Queens today.
Awesome, thanks guys. I'm Jenny. My day job is I'm a software engineer, so that's the side that I'm coming from. So just sort of to kick us off now, so Sophia and Sarah, both sort of, what do you both do personally sort of to keep your data safe day to day?
So
oh, sorry, after you.
Oh dear.
It's going to be one of those video calls, isn't it? Everyone talking over everyone. But I guess for me personally, when I was at insecurity, before I started uni, my OPSEC was not the best. I didn't realise there were security settings for all the social media accounts and, you know, the different types of authentication methods you could use. But now I've basically locked down all of my accounts. Anything I don't want to be on display or public, no public basically, then I have it in private, or I don't post anything that, you know, would give away any sensitive information about me. So I've basically done that and just been more aware of, like, if I have two-factor authentication options or multi-factor authentication options, I've just used them to kind of keep my data safe initially, just to start things off with. What about you, Sophia?
Very similar, I guess. I guess I didn't really do anything security-wise until I started working in security, which is a little bit backwards, but the more I learned about it, the more I realised, oh my gosh, this stuff is so easy, like for a hacker to obtain information, for them to use like password spraying to compromise like 10 of your accounts. So a big one for me was obviously to start using Password Manager and 2FA, just to sort of strengthen that authentication mechanism. But as Sarah said as well, I kind of tried to lock down as much of my sort of online profile as I could. So keeping personal accounts sort of private, limited to friends, and then keeping sort of public accounts more of a general kind of more casual profile, and like not revealing any personal information, that kind of thing. But as I said, like the more I work and learn in security, the more paranoid I get, so I keep adding little bits and bobs to my sort of security hygiene, but we're getting better, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting that both of you said that you didn't really like bear this in mind until you started working in the industry, and I think that's something that yeah, people who don't work in tech or cyber just aren't necessarily aware of how easy it is. And because we're on the inside, we know that, yeah, reusing your password, having really obvious, boring, basic passwords is such a security risk out there. And it's only when you sort of realize just quite how easy it is that you sort of become highly more aware.
Definitely.
And also that I didn't have a password manager for years, and it's actually just really easy. And when I finally got around, I was like, oh, I've been putting this off for way too long, and I should have just done it like day one. The first time someone went, you should get a password manager, I should have gone, yes, I should do that. There's a question from Jackie in the chat who wants to know just more about you guys. What are the security queens? How did you guys meet and found the blog, and what is involved in the blog?
Did you want to take it, Sarah?
yeah, I'll kick it off. So Security Queens is just it's the kind of brand we've built for a blog that we started last year in April during lockdown. And it was basically a group of friends, which we still are a group of friends that started Security Queens, and we were interested in security. We talked about security and we thought, why not share what we know and help us learn, and also help other people learn by writing these blog posts. But so me and Sophia are currently the two that write for the blog at the moment, and we met back in uni, and we used to do loads of stuff together anyway in terms of security, in the security bubble, I guess. We worked in the Security Society for Bournemouth Uni. So Sophia was vice president, and president, and I was vice president. And that's basically how we knew each other. And both of us got into the security conference scene as well. So Sophia, was it B-Sides that it was your first conference, or was it any other conference? So that's the one I remember you talking in.
Yeah, that was my first conference in 2018. That's 3 years ago now. Wow.
That's what I remember. Like your talk and being there for you, and then the next year I did my talk. Through that, but we were still at uni together, or like on placement together and things like that. So that's how it started, and then from there, we've just built our blog and
I guess we were all kind of, well, we are still new to the industry. We wanted to create sort of a platform that we could document our own learning journeys with the hope that it would help others at the same time. Because personally, I don't know about you, Sarah, but when I was sort of at the very, very start of my journey, I would constantly read like blogs, watch tutorials, trying to kind of teach myself in a way about all these little tricks and like techniques. So I guess that's why we sort of set up the blog. I think the original idea was to do conferences, but obviously with the pandemic and lockdown, that kind of got put on the back burner for a bit. So we thought, okay, we'll just do a blog for now. But it's been really good, and obviously being two women in tech, we wanted to also promote the inclusivity and the diversity within cybersecurity as well. So that's us.
Yeah, so back to sort of the data privacy sort of theme. We've got a really interesting question that we thought of earlier, and I actually don't know the answer to this, and I would love to know your opinions on it. That is it more secure to click sign in with Google or similar on third-party applications, or to sign up straight away? So Sophia, do you want to kick us off? What was? Oh no, have I now put you on the spot too much? Or does anybody else have any opinions so they want to chime in, either in the chat or unmute yourself? We love to hear loads of opinions coming through.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely had a little Google of it the other day because I was also curious, and I think it's just, if it's a more trusted platform, I guess a lot of people know Google, so I guess a lot of people click the option, and then instead of trusting that third party with your email and your password, you're trusting Google with it, and you can just sign in through there. But I mean, that's like the extent of my knowledge. If anyone else knows any more about it, that would be really interesting to like.
I suppose it's then one password in a single location, and then if that password, if your Google password, I mean, my Google account is linked to probably way too much. I mean, it's got all my my emails, and that's obviously really personal. I've got loads of documents on my Google Drive. If that went, oh God knows, and that is a password that is in my password manager now, and highly strong. So hopefully, that'll be fine.
Yeah, can I just
yeah,
say,
absolutely, Jackie.
Don't ever do that, because it's designed for frictionless, and if we want good cyber hygiene, frictionless is not a good thing, because if you make it frictionless for for yourself, you're making it frictionless for the criminals. So
Yeah,
the password
exactly.
manager, I mean, takes just seconds more to do it that way. And then at least if you're monitoring whether there's been any breaches and do one of the things we've already talked about, then you actually know where to go with it. But once you've actually opened a doorway like that, you can't close it. So I never advise that. And I've rescued many people who've fallen foul of it as well. So no.
Yeah. Mike's actually said in the chat that apparently Apple say that Apple ID is more secure, but they might be biased. So I don't know anything obviously about what behind the scenes of Apple are. And of course they're going to say that. But no, I completely agree with you, Jackie. It is just such a slippery slope. And it is trying to get people who, want that frictionless and easy access in.
I guess it's quite interesting as well, because it brings it back to the point of using a password manager. Like, the point of a password manager is to store all those details and store all your different passwords and create strong passwords as well. So yeah. No,
Natalie, did you have a thing to do like throwaway emails that whizzed up? Like, what was it called? It had the best name, and I've now completely forgotten it.
I remember you saying, yeah.
Shark lasers.
It's amazing. Like, it's called shark. So do you want to quickly explain what that is? And it's nothing to do with sharks or lasers.
No, disappointingly, I was very sad when I found that out. So you can actually, I think someone's mentioned it in the chat as well. So you can actually, there are services available to provide a disposable email that's just active for 10 to 15 minutes. So it's really great for if you're signing up for like an online shopping account or something where you just need an email to verify your account, and then you don't actually need it for anything else. And other sites are available. I'm not on any commission, but I just absolutely love the name, and you won't forget it. So next time you're doing something like that, remember shark lasers, sharklasers.com, and it'll just give you a throwaway email. You can use that, and then it's gone, so they can't compromise you through it. So that's a good one to remember.
I mean, also going back with like old accounts and all the things that email addresses are so linked to, that you've signed up over the years, and you've got to really keep track of everything that you've signed up for. I don't know if either of you have ever had any experience with that, Sophia or Sarah, particularly like have I been pwned? Like, have you had emails that have been compromised in that before?
I have, and I remember obviously checking my email, that particular email, and have I been pwned, and realizing I signed up to that. Like, I completely forgot to all these different sites that I signed up to, which literally must have been years and years ago. But it is kind of highlighting the issue of being really wary about what you sign up to, what kind of personal information you're kind of releasing almost, because I genuinely just forgot about them, completely forgot about them. I think this is where sort of the throwaway emails and using a password manager comes into play, that it really does add that additional layer of security for your own personal kind of little bubble.
It was the same for me as well. I think it was my MyFitnessPal account in the end that was breached. That was I don't know how many years ago now, probably not that long ago in the grand scheme of things, but that was one of the accounts that got compromised for me. And I remember them sending me an email being like, you need to change your password, but the account that I had linked up was an old email account, so it actually took me a while to realize that was an account that had been compromised. It didn't have anything extremely sensitive, like I hadn't set up a payment plan or anything on there, but it's still quite scary, especially if I reuse that password or that account, like that people would be able to find other bits of information or log into other accounts that I might have had.
We've got a couple of questions that have come through in the chat about about your undergrad degrees and any tips that you've got for how to enter your first cybersecurity job, and how are you finding it?
I think the biggest one for me, if you are currently at university, is to pursue some sort of internship or placement and get that hands-on experience. It's great sort of learning the academics behind sort of security and sort of the theory behind it. But I think that 1 year that I spent in industry, I pretty much learned just as much as I did in uni in a way, because I was able to kind of get involved, actually practice those techniques I was taught in uni. And it was really good to kind of balance myself in a way when I returned in final year with all this newfound knowledge, and I was able to apply that to sort of my final project and come up with a really good grade. So I think my biggest sort of tip would be, if you can, just try get internships, hands-on experience, work experience, that kind of thing. And I think most universities are quite helpful. They have a career centre, or they have sort of contacts that they can put you in contact with to help you with that as well.
I mean, I just follow on from that and say, just coming to things like this, conferences, or both when big, like the ones in person open up, just go to them, make friends, meet people, chat to people. I know that it can be scary, but everyone kind of is there to chat. They have different knowledge, different backgrounds, and the industry is quite a small place. Like, I'm going to out you, Dan, because I can see you sitting there, but like, mine. But, you know, it'd be so cool if we ever met at a conference, we chat, discuss security things, and like anyone else, like, it's just a really friendly place to be. And the more people you meet and the connections you make, like, the more likely you're going to get a job, because you might know someone that works somewhere and there's an opening in that company and they know your skills or they know your passion for it, and you can get in tons of different ways, as well as being
I definitely agree.
It's all sort of networking, because it is quite a small, you know, industry. You can really get to know people. And, you know, I've attended Synam in person when we were actually able to do that, and it's just really great to chat to people, to get to know people. Like the ladies of Cheltenham Hacking Society, we started that up as a chapter of the Hacking Society over lockdown, and it's been really great and a lovely way to connect to particularly ladies in cybersecurity in the local area. Just a lovely supportive community. There's a question from Laura that what do we think is not being talked about currently in tech that should be talked about more? Is there anything that you think it needs more of a light shone on it?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think, well, I'm going to be a little bit biased here because I did my dissertation on this. I think
knowledge.
Moving towards sort of, this is a very niche area, but sort of moving towards like smart cities and connected technologies, where I meet a lot of people like my parents who aren't techie, and they still think it's like in 50 years in the future, like, oh no, that's in the future when we have flying cars and we have like DeLoreans and stuff. But in reality, it's actually becoming scarily close to being the norm. I mean, I did my dissertation on autonomous vehicles and kind of utilizing smart cities as part of that wider infrastructure. And the research I did, like, it was kind of staggering in a way to see how close we are to that. So I think the more we kind of talk about it, the more we highlight it, the more we kind of do workshops, talks, even more research than we already have done, I think more people will kind of be aware of this is happening now. Like, this isn't happening in 50 years. This is more or less just around the corner. So I think that's a big one for me, is to anything sort of connected technologies like smart homes. I guess smart homes are kind of the norm now-ish.
Yeah, I mean IoT is everywhere, and things like, you know, your kettle and your fridge and like your central heating, everything's on the internet. And so if that could be hacked, someone could do some real damage there, and it's a really scary concept that you've got to make sure that even just like changing your passwords and that kind of thing needs to be done.
Yeah, I agree. And it's just,
Sophia, I just want to say hello. I'm the world's first smart cities czar, so I have 180 countries actually mobilized them during the pandemic. So because this is part of it. We originally did it from a critical national infrastructure point of view for obvious reasons about what was going on, but I now have rolled that program out across Europe as well. So it is mobilized at a government level across 180 nations, not the ones that we'd normally work with, but we are doing. And then it's a question of a societal piece of it, and that's the piece that I'm just doing in Europe. So mobilizing 450 million citizens, because you're right, we've got to connect the two things up. It's vitally important. So we're looking at 9 billion devices in the next 4 years, needing to look across it. So what we talk about in our cyber, you know, we're talking about any sort of perimeter thing. Forget that. That's already gone. And so what will we do with 9 billion devices? Well, it's not so much what we'll do with them. I think we're okay with what we'll do with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll make a cup of tea in the morning with my smart kettle. That's what I'll do with them. From the luxury of my bed in the other room, because I don't need to move.
There are a few other people have thought of some very malicious and adversarial things to do with them. They're the ones
I know. I have not got that imagination to go that far.
So every time I do a speech, I do what are the top 10 hack points in your house, and nobody ever gets number one right. And I think it's really interesting. And I do that because obviously I speak to the public as much as I speak to governments, and just getting people realizing that they're part of it. Like you say about your parents think it's way off. It's like, well, you know, you could go in their house and go, well, what is it you've got? Well, you've got one of these, and so you're not way off. Sorry, trying to get that in the Zoom. It won't show it. There it is. Yeah, you've got one of these, so you're connected. What else might you have? You know, and I think that people don't realise they're even part of it, and yet usually they are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
That's quite interesting, because I spotted a question that in the chat earlier said, have your family and friends now improved their cyber hygiene? But I feel like that kind of links in with what you're saying here, is like, if they don't know, you know, then they don't know how to secure themselves. Like, it's important for us to teach them, but how do we reach that kind of audience and like educate them in how to protect themselves? I know my mum was she was clueless, and now I've got like cycling back to, you know, the opposite topic, like stronger passwords, putting spaces in there, using phrases.
I gave my mum a webcam cover and she didn't know what it was. I was like, oh, bless you. She had to show her, and like, she said to me the other day, oh, my webcam's not working. I was like, have you slide it? Like, have you slid it across? But I guess that kind of shows.
Yeah.
I guess that shows kind of how we need to bridge the gap of understanding between sort of, I guess, the normal public in a way, and the people that either work in industry or are aware of kind of those security challenges that we face.
Yeah, I mean, it's education at every level, because obviously we're coming from a background that we are like technically able people, and we know how to, like, good passwords, password managers, knowing about what our social media profiles, what's out there. But it's the sort of the audience that doesn't know about that. They just go into it blindly, and it's how to educate everybody so that our base level of security is just raised that bit. So when we do have our 9 billion devices, we know that we're in a better place generally all round.
Well, you see, the thing is, there's often not a human in the loop. So we make our assumptions based on what we do in cyber now, and even the way we're still training our cyber professionals. And there's not necessarily a human in the loop. So that's why, from a UN point of view, we've gone after the CNI piece of it, because that doesn't necessarily have a human in there anywhere. And it's not so much necessarily a software attack or a hardware attack necessarily, because often it's people. We know that people are the weak link in the chain, don't we?
Yeah.
I think the most important thing to say is, you know, if you're not thinking about the humans, you're not really attacking the problem at all. I speak as somebody who's been, you know, I'm not technical by background. I ended up managing lots of technical people and then being a CISO for 7 years. You know, I don't need to understand the technology really in detail any more than I understand the technology of a car. I need to know what it is that enables me to do it safely. And I think it's really important in a very nice way. There's an implication been coming out that it's generational. It isn't. I'm sorry. I have millennial children. I know people who are much younger than that as well, and people who have no idea about what's safe to do online, as it were, or not. So I think we have to really, really look at the human piece. And there are a few companies that you probably know who concentrate with a laser-like focus on the human aspect of cybersecurity. And if they don't, if you don't, if a company doesn't, I've worked in very large organizations, both public and private. If you don't, you won't get anywhere near your goal of getting cybersecurity. And if you say to people they need to understand technology, you probably frighten them off. If you tell them what the practical things are and what they have to do, it's rather different.
That's a really excellent point. And we're just gonna have to wrap up now and send you all back over to the main stage. We're really sorry to see you go. If you want to like get in touch with us anymore, my email address is jenny@ladieshackingsociety.com. Email me. I'd love to get in touch. We've got a lovely Slack channel for the Ladies Hacking Society, so it'll be really great to send some invites if you want to get involved further. I'm going to stick a link now, bit of self-promotion here, for the meetup that the ladies of Cheltenham are doing at the end of the month. We're running an OWASP workshop on SQL injection, so that'll be a practical demo. You can get that all set up and learn about some SQL injection. We'd love to see as many people there as possible. But I think that's it. Sophia and Sarah, have you got anything, last words that you wanted to add to send everyone off?
I mean, I would just say thank you for letting us join you in presenting this and talking. I can't believe how quickly it's gone, because I still have so much to say on this. Yeah, no, thank you so much, and I hope everyone's enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a good sort of half an hour just to have a chat really with other people. So
Yeah. Yeah, and thank you everybody for getting involved and asking some great questions in the chat. I mean, this session was totally made by you, like we wouldn't have been able to do it without you. So thank you everybody. Hope you enjoy the rest of Synam, and we'll hopefully see you soon. Natalie, you can stop recording now.
Yes, boss.